We now know that the roommates found the baby first, and they called 911, but by then the 21-year-old mom, Laken Snelling, was no longer home. We also know for the first time where she was, and I'm going to let you in on that one in a moment, might make you blink. But when authorities arrived at the scene, we know that the baby was dead. What we don't know yet is whether that little boy was alive after being born, and that matters. In fact, there is something that Laken Snelling herself would say later on that suggests maybe that baby was alive when he was born. As we've reported before, the now former university student athlete is charged with a couple of things: abuse of a corpse, tampering with physical evidence, and concealing the birth of an infant. But notice on that list what's not there? No murder, no homicide of any type. Late last week, she made the trip back to Lexington from her parents' home in Tennessee, where she's under house arrest, and she made the trip for this, which was a very, very short court hearing. What you're looking at right there is not just this big old edit that we made, into a minute. The court hearing was less than a minute. She basically showed up to waive her right to a preliminary hearing. And why does that matter? Under Kentucky law, that basically sends this case to a grand jury. So it's a bunch of, her peers who are going to have to decide whether to indict Laken Snelling or not. And my money's on the indictment, especially in light of the police reports that came out the same day. Okay, this is where you're going to have to sit down, because these affidavits are filled with information. A lot of it's kind of uncomfortable. The affidavits that were filed to get search warrants show that while Laken's roommates claim to have been in the dark about her condition all along, Laken had been Googling, quote, different things pertaining to pregnancy, and had used, quote, different hashtags for different weeks pregnant on social media. Social media, which makes me wonder, how in the dark were these roommates? Don't they follow their roommate on social media? Police also found pictures of Laken, quote, doing things that ordinary pregnant women would not be doing. And there's no explanation in the affidavit, but we kind of wondered if it was this. These were the pictures that we aired a while back, showing Laken Snelling in the cheerleading stunt team. She's a member that's slipping and tumbling at a meet that would have put her, by the date of this meet, at about 5 months pregnant. And get this, police also found pictures that Laken took of herself while in labor. Those were not posted to social media. In fact, those were not easy for the police to find. And I bet you know why I'm about to tell you, right? They were not easy for the police to find because they were deleted. Police say Laken told them that she gave birth at 4 o'clock in the morning on August 27th. She said the baby fell to the floor of her bedroom. And the roommates actually told police they heard that, but didn't know what it was. Laken told police she didn't think the baby was alive, but she didn't stick to that claim. And I'm going to come back to that in just a second. She said a half hour later, she, quote, passed out on top of the child and woke up to find the boy, quote, turning blue and purple, end quote. She said she wrapped the baby up, quote, like a burrito, and lay next to him on the floor, quote, because it gave her a little comfort in the moment, end quote. And here's what else the affidavit tells us. Laken slept until her alarm went off at 7:30 in the morning. And police say she then wrapped the baby in a towel, put the towel in the trash bag, and put the trash bag in her closet, and then took a shower. After that, police say she cleaned up a little bit more, stashing the placenta in a Ziploc bag, which police say she stashed in the closet with the baby. And then they say she drove to the University of Kentucky campus, but did not go to class. Instead, she ordered food from McDonald's, and after eating, drove to the student clinic. But then, curious, did not enter the building. According to police, she instead went back home, by which time her secret was out. So police took her in, but then they took her to the University of Kentucky Hospital, where And I want to read this actually verbatim because it's important. Ms. Snelling told medical staff that the baby made a whimper and that she, quote, guessed the baby was alive. This is where I'm going to stop, and I'm going to bring in Mark Geragos, defense attorney, podcaster, and longtime friend of the show, and somebody who knows a lot about this because he's had cases just like it. Okay, Geragos, I think that last line is super important to me, that the affidavit says Laken Snelling told medical staff the baby made a whimper. That's kind of solid proof that the baby was not stillborn, that the baby was born alive.
It's definitely something that the pathologist is going, and the coroner is going to want to factor into his discussion. When we talked about this case last time, we talked about, or you had a guest on that was also a pathologist, and one of the things they talked about, or I at least characterize it as, the kind of medieval tests that they use in order to determine this. It really is, for all of the advances we've made in science, when it comes to figuring out if it was stillborn or not, it's still very, very primitive. But the admission from the mother that there was a whimper or a sound which suggests taking a breath, that is key to a coroner making the determination if there was a live birth, because the breath, the lung capacity, that is what they have concentrated on since time immemorial.
Yeah, you can't make a whimper if you don't have oxygen in your lungs, and you don't come out of the birth canal with any oxygen in your system. That's the first breath, as everybody knows. Then she also said after 30 minutes, she said the baby was turning blue and purple. I think it might have been 30 minutes after she kind of woke up, having, in her description, fallen asleep on the baby. And to say the baby's turning blue and purple is another very definitive forensic clue that the baby was actually functioning and alive for all those minutes.
You know, this is why I'm such a friend of the show. You're so sharp to have picked up on that, because if I'm the defense lawyer and I'm taking a look at that, I'm saying to myself, this is precisely why you never want your client to cooperate, because just from a purely legal standpoint, absent her statements that there was a whimper, that the baby was, the fetus or the baby was turning blue, how you refer to it, things of that nature, they don't have a corpus. They don't have a crime. It's only after the fact trying to reconstruct a crime. And boy, I will tell you, a whimper and turning blue, as you just stated, are two of the biggest things that their prosecution is going to hang their proverbial hat on.
Hey, I'm looking at these pictures, and I know I'm going to get assailed for bringing this topic up, but I think that everything matters. Appearances matter. This is Laken Snelling appearing for her second time in a courtroom in front of a judge. She's tucked in behind her lawyer for a bit of it, but you can see she's wearing a black dress, and she did not glam up. In her first court appearance, she wore a red dress with a lot of makeup. Second court appearance, see, there's the first one, Geragos, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I saw the red cocktail dress and lots of makeup. It matters, doesn't it? As a defense attorney, it matters how your client appears in a high-profile trial.
There are so many things that matter, and let me explain why. As you know, and I'm telling you what you already know, the look in a courtroom or how is projected outside of the courtroom matters immensely to the ultimate arbiter of this case, which is the jury pool. Why do you think in the Diddy case they're fighting so hard to have him not have to wear jail garb at his sentencing when there isn't even a jury? Because they know that that's going to go out. That's what the public is going to see. Why do you think I have many times said I regret in the Peterson case that I did not allow cameras in the courtroom? Because what they did do is they took some B-roll of maybe a minute and a half, and that became, and Scott looking with a lack of affect, and that became kind of the soundtrack or video track, if you will, of that trial for the rest of time immemorial. Right here, look what happens. You've got her looking as if she's going, you call it a cocktail attire, I call it a prom dress, into her appearance. That is not the look that you want to have. That is not the look that is going to send the message that you want to send. And I'm not second guessing the lawyers or anybody else, because I've been hoisted on this on myself. But it matters. The things that you don't think matter, matter. I can't tell you the little details that you have to be concerned with.
I'm not judging her either. I don't think this kid knew a damn thing about court and about how to dress. I'm sure she just grabbed what she thought was the most adult thing, maybe in her wardrobe. But these things just do land so unbelievably hard on people, and people are very, very judgmental. I do want to ask you about the deleted pictures. The police always find the deleted file, and the pictures of her giving birth are deleted, as are some of the internet searches. You know, in the legalese, they usually say that's consciousness of guilt, I think. But do you see it as a problem that she deleted a lot of these things?
Well, you know, what people don't quite understand, both for where you search and what's been deleted. When you cross-examine, at least in my experience, when I cross-examine the computer forensics people, what you quickly find out is that something that is deleted is not necessarily deleted. And then what the law enforcement does is they will recreate, they will go to the unallocated space, they'll go to the cloud, they'll go to various other places and recreate what was deleted. That, to your point, can be damning if it's something that shows consciousness of guilt. The other thing on internet searches, I'm always a little leery of that, because anytime you go onto an internet or land on a website, you get bombarded with pop-ups. You get bombarded, and if you were to go in slow motion, which I often do during cross-examination, as to the search browser, searching for that website, many times one of the things that they consider to be a search is not a search, it's not the end point, it's just one of the signposts on the way. So you have to be very careful.
It's a waypoint.
You have to have Yeah, and so one of the things that you're labeling or saying she was searching for may not be.
Okay, quickly, I only have about 20 seconds left, but I've got to ask you about the trip to McDonald's after she, you know, allegedly wrapped this baby up, put it in the closet, put him in the closet, left the house. I remember giving birth twice to two little boys, and I was absolutely famished the next day. And here's a girl who's probably going to be assailed for going to McDonald's when maybe she couldn't face whoever was in her house to get food in the house and just wanted to get away from seeing anybody. But how do you spin that if you're a defense attorney in court? And that's a really ugly fact.
Just basically embracing what you just said. Generally, if you've got either a female judge or females on your jury, or anybody who's been around a female who has just given birth, they're going to tell you exactly what you just said, that sometime right after giving birth, right after you've recovered from what is an ordeal, you become incredibly, incredibly famished. And clearly there is no playbook after these kinds of things. I mean, if you believe that she didn't really know, or she may have suspected but didn't know until it happened, which is the kind of the situation that I've defended on a couple of occasions, there is no playbook for how you react, but there is also, it is a biological fact, so to speak, that you are going to be, to borrow your word, famished. And if you're famished, you're hungry, you're going to go where you're going to go.
You're going to go where you're going to go. I can tell you this, I was almost 40, and there was no playbook for me, and I was a total wreck. I can't imagine what this would be like for a 20-year-old something in college without that kind of support. Geragos, always love having you. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.